What is up, Carmination? Welcome back to another edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com. And as always, I have my co-captain, Ben Hossel. We'll talk everything what we did last week in our main optimal lineup construction build on DraftKings. We'll talk about FanDuel Super Draft a little bit as well. We'll take a look at the week ahead. As always, in 2020, we'll talk COVID and any other interesting changing of the schedule. I feel like there's every day I check Twitter, the Ravens play on a new day. So I have no clue what's going on for this upcoming week with them. But yeah, man, last week was the first week. So shout out to me for being very reliable this year, Ben, that I missed the cash process. I think we did the Turkey Day one. And we just didn't get around to the main one. So, I know we have a big family out there on YouTube, so apologize for that. It was just a hectic week with the holidays. It's a freaking massive snowstorm. I'm looking out my window right now in Cleveland. It's December 1st. It's winter, man. We're here, week 13. We're getting towards the last quarter of the NFL season. It's still a great time for DFS. NBA's coming back. Again, I'll just run through the housekeeping stuff. It's Monday or it's Tuesday right now. I'm not sure if that cyber week code is still good, but there are still the Thanksgiving stuff in the free roll, which I'm budgeting for this week. All of our subscribers, I'm personally giving out $1,500 to both a super draft contest and also a DraftKings contest. It was part of the whole Thanksgiving theme last week, and then we wanted to include super draft as well. And frankly, we sold out of our DraftKings contest. We decided to move it to this week. So if you are a subscriber to anything at Karma, hop in our Discord. You should have gotten an email blast about it. So again, that's just free money. It's a free roll. Make sure you get into Super Draft and DraftKings. Just a little fun Thanksgiving. Thank you guys to being loyal subscribers of ours, not only throughout NFL season, but there's a lot of you guys who've been here, MLB, NBA, PGA, NASCAR, college basketball, sports, you name it. We have so much going on. So again, I just wanted to thank you, and that's a little give back on my end. Ben, I will go to you. You had a couple of down weeks there for DraftKings, the cash lineup, but we regurgitate it's a long season. It's a process. You started out mega hot. Talk about probably I would assume one of your best weeks of the season last week. What got you on the angle that you got it on, and how you're looking ahead towards this week, and how you're looking to angle to finish this entire season. Because we got about, I'd say, 4 to maybe 5 or 6 good cash builds left. There's always the playoffs and stuff, but it's just sometimes it's not as fun, obviously, in cash games when there's only 2 or 3 slates.
Yeah, man, I said last week or the week before how unlucky I've been getting. So finally had a big week on both sites, thanks to Tyreek Hill. We kind of talked about it, Sam and I, on the live stream. He asked me for my bold call for the week, and I said Tyreek Hill was going to break the slate, and I didn't even really need him. Like, I ended up playing him, and obviously, he had 60 points, but Mahomes was just so low owned, which you and I both were shocked about. I would have cashed whether I played Tyreek or not, just because Mahomes obviously did really well, and he just wasn't high owned, which I was shocked about. But yeah, I needed that. I feel like I got my swagger back a little bit, so hopefully we can string some wins together here as the season ends, and then we can head into NBA pretty strong.
Hell yeah, man. I told you I did not give Tyreek any actual thought at all. It crossed my mind early in the week when I was pretty steadfast on playing Keenan. I'll get to it later. I ultimately came off him, but I thought for about a nanosecond, Tyreek is only 200 cheaper, and I'm playing Mahomes. Why wouldn't I go with Tyreek? But it was just a nanosecond. In full disclosure, I never actually considered playing him in cash. I was a little bit surprised to see him own kind of what he was. It wasn't crazy, but, shout out to you guys. If you look back at our expert picks and, the core plays, we were essentially all over the Chiefs in general as a staff. And, yeah, they were popular, but in the grand scheme of things, I didn't have a great cash lineup. I bubbled most cash games, so I still won back, most of all my entries for the day. I had a terrible week in tournaments last week. So, again, just bubbling in cash games can, quote unquote, my fingers in the air, save the day, even on subpar weeks. And Mahomes was only 22 or 23% owned in most of my cash games. Yeah, that's low owned considering the slate with all the value, including the bad chalk of Brian Hill, which we all knew was bad going into it. that guy, man, I just swear to God, I can't do him again. Naheem Hines was an easy play. Again, there was so much value that I was even considering not playing Hill and just going with the Hines Cook combo because there were so many cheap wide receivers. I ultimately went with the chalk of Cook, Hill, and Hines, which was kind of a mega chalk combo. And Waller kind of hurt me in my lineup, I guess. At the end of the day, bubbled cash games. It was an okay week, and we move on. All right. Let's start talking week 13, Ben. What are your early thoughts? Is there anything injury news? I mean, COVID, it's Tuesday morning here. Anything at all we need to be digesting before we attack the slate?
The only COVID-related stuff I think as of now is that they moved the Steelers game to Monday, I think. So the Steelers-Washington game is not on this slate. So that's the only COVID-related stuff off the top of my head. This seems like a really weird week. Like, there's no sexy quarterbacks. Like, if we're going to talk about quarterbacks. So you have Kyler and Russ at the top. Kyler is very clearly hurt and more hurt than they're saying. I mean, if you just look at his rush attempts are way down. Obviously, only 8 DraftKings points against New England on the road, so whatever. But it's just very clear that he's hurt because they're just not running him as much. And he's not someone that's going to light it up through the air. So that is someone that we need to run. So, like, we don't want to play him. And then Russ, obviously, the Seahawks, I don't know if you've seen their last couple games, but they have, like, reverted fully back to, like, 2019, 2018 Seahawks where they are not letting Russ cook anymore. They're kind of just running that same pretty gross offense. And if Daniel Jones is out for the Giants, I would have questions about the Giants being able to stay in that game against Seattle. So don't want to play him. And then you have Watson, who's been on an absolute tear, but just lost Will Fuller yesterday. So, and like, it's just, I don't know if I want to play any of these spend up quarterbacks. Obviously, you have Herbert at home, which you can say whatever you want about him, but I think this is going to be a spend down week at quarterback for me personally.
Yeah, I haven't given it too much thought. I agree. At first glance, it kind of looks not so pleasant in the eye when attacking with quarterback this week. Yeah, I mean, you got like high totals with, Tannehill, Kirk Cousins type of quarterbacks who I'm not sure if they ever get so popular. I mean, nobody ever wants to play the Bakers, the Kirks. I mean, but 30 points right now implied for Minnesota definitely sticks out, Ben. I'm assuming, when we get to running back and receiver, it could be one of those weeks. Jacksonville plays. They got some scrappy wide receivers. I mean, you could see the game potentially, again, air quotation, shooting out relative to the slate. There's not many high totals. Tannehill, we got to consider him. The Browns secondary is completely awful and decimated. I know most people probably will be on Derrick Henry, so that's something you should consider later in the week. I mean, it's a little early right now, but 6,200 for Tannehill, I would highly consider him. Is that a home game? That is a home game for Tennessee as well. Again, even Baker. I mean, that sounds disgusting admitting it, but 5,300 in a game where the Browns will be behind. I mean, I know the Browns want to run, but you know me, Ben. I am a sucker for the math implied totals. I'm looking at the Bet Karma. It's free, the live odds. Stay tuned because in the next week and a half, a lot of our new updates will be synced and refreshed to the site. And I think you guys are going to enjoy a lot of the tools and trends coming over to Bet Karma. And something I use behind the scenes that we have in our infrastructure is studying the color code of how the line moves throughout the week. So right now, that Tennessee game sticks out to me, and so does the Vikings game. So that's kind of where I'm at early in the week. What is Derek Carr's price, by the way? Okay, I wanted to bring this up before we move on to running back. He's another guy. He's a Kirk. He's a Baker. I mean, even a Tannehill to an extent. Like, nobody's going to want to play him, Ben, coming off a really bad performance, obviously, in Atlanta. But now we get the Jets, whose secondary, again, has got to be right now bottom 3 or 4 in the league, and they've been hurt to injury the last few weeks as well. And it's just something you can see attacking every week. Any team that plays the Jets, there's favorable outcomes for certain wide receivers and the quarterback. So, I mean, that's somebody we can probably maybe consider as well, even though it doesn't sound sexy.
Oh, you're
But we
missing
all
the lock of the slate at quarterback. I mean,
so
stone lock.
Mitch Trubisky.
It is Mitch Trubisky at
Yeah,
5,400.
I was just gonna circle up with him. Yeah, I mean,
He owns the Lions. So week one,
he
all
does.
anyone talked about was you got to play Mitch Trubisky against the Lions, right? Went out, had 24 DraftKings points, had 21 the other night. He does at least have some sort of like rushing ability. He's 5,400. I mean, I can't believe it. I'll explain at running back why I want to play Mitch Trubisky, but I actually think he's like really in play. But you nailed it. Tannehill smashes as a home favorite, and the Browns are horrible, so I do think he's in play. And Cousins is really good when he's not under pressure. Jacksonville can't generate any pressure. Some people talked about Cousins a live stream on Sunday. I actually thought he was a pretty good play. He had 30 DraftKings points, man. I actually think he's a good play, but Trubisky's like 1,000 less than Cousins. Like I would rather just play him.
Yeah, he plays a lot better at home too. And again, I'm just kind of looking at this trends tool that will be live on Bet Karma within the next week or so. And it's sticking out to me kind of like a sore thumb. I mean, he is 6,400 now, which is kind of interesting. I guess I didn't really see the price tag at first. So that's a lot of quarterback. It's funny because I was going to finish it. Mitch, you stole it from me. So I guess we're both on Mitch early. It's just, man, I don't really want to play him. I'm going to try to find definitely ways not to, especially if he turns out to be mega chalk. I just don't know if I want to go there. I'm really right now, my gut tells me the safest option with ironically the most upside is probably Tannehill. All right, let's go to running back then.
Yeah, some really good spend ups at running back this week. So I think I'll just skip ahead to the value tier real quick, and I want to mention this. This is why I want to play Trubisky. I think that one of the highest owned running backs this week is going to be David Montgomery. He's 5,500. He plays the Lions. He's at home. He's coming off a pretty much, I think, probably the biggest fantasy game he's ever had, 28 DraftKings points. I think that has to be the most he's ever had because typically Montgomery is someone that we look at that doesn't have a very high ceiling. And that's just really cheap against a really bad run defense. So I think a lot of people are going to want to play him at that price. So if I play Trubisky, I don't have to play Montgomery and I can kind of spend up at running back. Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry both are in really good spots. I'm wondering if people will be off Dalvin because he had that bad game, but he did leave for a portion of that game. Kind of ran bad. Like Cousins threw a couple red zone touchdowns, like could have easily broken been Dalvin Cook touchdowns. Like Jacksonville's so bad, and he's still at home. So I think he's a really good play. And Henry, man, we're in December, right? The month of Derrick Henry, where he perennially smashes. He smashes as a home favorite, which he is this week. The Browns' run defense is not good. Like they haven't played a lot of good running backs, right? So this is why, if you look at the numbers, it'll kind of skew. But if you remember when they played Washington, Antonio Gibson had a really good day against them. So whenever they've kind of played actually capable running backs, I know they're getting Garrett back this week, but it doesn't matter with Derrick Henry. They played week one. They played the Titans week one last year, and Derrick Henry absolutely destroyed them. So I would love to play Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry both if possible.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with Henry this week if he's going to be like, 35-40% complete chalk, or people go, he won't do it again. He's 9,200 now. He never gets enough targets. I mean, I agree. We know this Browns team. We know what they want to do, and they literally give up the run, even though they can't stop the pass. It is kind of correlated with bad luck and injuries preseason throughout the season. It is what it is. That's why I really like Tannehill too. But I feel like you got to play Derrick Henry and Cook this week. I mean, why not? Just play. I haven't looked at the wide receiver slates. I'm kind of going to look at it live, but I mean, there's weeks that you can definitely feel a lot safer about your lineup, even with the cheapy wide receivers. Because frankly, unless it's Devontae Adams, is he on this slate? Yeah, he is. That's always an issue. Let's be real. I don't know. I mean, will people play Devontae? DK Metcalf is on the slate. There is a 8-point spread there. I mean, maybe he cools off. So maybe you don't need a high owned wide receiver. And that's kind of the whole conundrum. Right now, early look, I do want to take a different angle and maybe go with the combo of Henry, Cook, and James Robinson. I'm a little bit upset at myself for not sticking with Robinson in my main lineup last week. I knew Cook was the play. I just didn't like how my roster construction looked because I knew it would look like a lot of other people's. And I ultimately faded Robinson in my main lineup. Didn't kill me. Like I said, I bubbled cash games, but this guy is just in too good of an opportunity. Some say it's not the best to play two running backs in the same game. But I like that game a lot. I think Robinson's just 7,300 is a very fair price. You just got to take savings somewhere. Maybe it is with Mitch at quarterback and a really cheap tight end, and then just play 4K wide receivers, Ben.
Yeah, so you like James Robinson. I actually think I prefer Austin Eckler, who is 7,100. Came out in his first game off of injury last week and looked really good, man. He looked healthy. He freaking had 16 targets, right? Like, we can't project that every
What?
week.
16? I didn't know
He
that.
had
Wow.
11 catches on 16 targets. Like, sure, he's not going to get 16 targets every week. But, I mean, other than Keenan Allen, like, it's clear he's going to be involved in, the passing game. And I was kind of talking to people in Discord about this. Like, if you assume that Bill wants to try and take away Keenan Allen, like, that should set it up really well for Eckler. They don't have any good linebackers, which is another good matchup for Eckler. And I don't know, like 7,100 with that kind of pass catching upside on DraftKings, I think is a really good play. New England hasn't been the same defense, so I think he's a really good play. And can we quick just LOL at Alvin Kamara being 7K? I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's just so funny.
I mean, what's good? Like, are we done with him now?
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't play him with Taysom. I don't know, like it's
Against
Sean
the
Payton
Falcons.
clearly likes Taysom Hill more than he likes Alvin Kamara for whatever reason.
I mean, I can't believe I even kind of overlooked that going into this podcast. I mean, wow. Against the Falcons, which we know historically give up the short screenplays to the running back. So that's an awesome turning play. No question about it. Like, probably one of my favorite, just looking at it right now. All right. What are you looking at for like the low tier, I guess? Like, is there any value?
Yeah, this mid 5K tier actually has some value. So you have your boy Wayne Gallman. Sketchy situation now with Jones potentially being out, but dude, when they get close in the red zone, they were giving him the ball, and I'm not scared of the Seahawks defense, so he's definitely in play. Devontae Booker could be a thing if Jacobs misses. He had an ankle injury over the weekend, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And then you have Montgomery
Yeah.
at 5,500. Montgomery's gonna be stone chalk at that price. I mean, everyone's gonna want to play Montgomery at that price.
Yeah. Agree. Man, I like your Eckler take. I might fade Derrick Henry just because you got to figure Henry. Man, it's tough.
It is tough.
I feel like Eckler is his floor is extremely similar to Derrick Henry, as crazy as that sounds, and you get like 2K in savings. So that's where I might want to go with Tannehill quarterback if I ultimately fade. You can't fade both of them in cash games this week. Like if you're fading Derrick Henry, I'm almost positive you got to play Tannehill. If you're playing Henry, then yeah, maybe you could go down to Mitch. So that's just my quick analysis, high level of
I mean,
that part of
do you think you could play both? I did this earlier this year. I just did the full
Yeah,
Titan stack.
you can, but I just don't know if I want to do it. I know. I remember the week it worked. That's just
It
something
was
I
that
don't like
Houston
to do
week when
so
they
much
scored
more.
like 40
Yeah.
points.
And again, the problem with the Browns is it just
The
depends of
Browns
game to
can
game.
give up
Like
40 points, dude. Like
they
the
can.
Titans could absolutely just freaking go off this week.
All right, let's go to wide receiver.
Yeah, you have Devontae at 9K. I just can't ever pay 9K for a receiver in cash games. I just can't do it. But all Devontae Adams does is score touchdowns. Philly has no one that's going to be able to cover him. I mean, look, Darius Slay got abused by DK last night. Like, Devontae Adams can get off in any matchup, so he's obviously going to be in play. But I just can't spend 9K on him in cash. Who I was looking at off the rip was A.J. Brown at 7,600. Who on the Browns is going to cover him? I mean, obviously, Ward is out, but, like, undersized anyways. The Browns have absolutely no one with a prayer of stopping A.J. Brown.
Wow, this lineup I'm making right now.
It's full Titan
it left
stack.
me with, left me with 7,600, but yeah, I'm like AJ Brown 7,600. Yeah, nobody's gonna stop AJ Brown. That's another thing.
I mean, no, the
The
Browns
Browns
literally
can't
don't
stop.
have anyone that can stop him.
This is a bad matchup for the Browns. I mean, it really
It
is.
is super bad. They don't have anyone that can hang with him, so he's probably going to go off. I prefer him to the Seattle guys. I think this week, Ridley
Because
could be
what's
a
his name's
thing.
out, right? Brown's top cornerback. Why can't I think
Yeah,
of his name?
Denzel Ward's out still, but even
Yeah,
so, like Denzel Ward's a small guy. Like AJ Brown's huge,
right.
so they don't have anyone. Ridley could be a thing if Julio misses again, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And then, I mean, look, you can talk like any of these guys in the 6K range. Like you could make a case for Parker. Allen Robinson, Jarvis looked really healthy last week, and Tennessee, look, a bad defense, can't get pressure. Like, this could definitely be a shootout, this Browns-Titans game. I would not be shocked at all. So you can make
Yeah.
the case for him. But I think Cooks at 5,600, I think, is going to be really chalky because Will Fuller's, done, obviously. So he's the number one there.
Wait, say it again.
Yeah, so
You're breaking up.
Will Fuller's out, so I think Cooks at 5,600 is going to be like really chalky.
What about Kiki Kuti?
Yeah, so this is a weird situation because they cut Kenny Stills, right? And then Will Fuller goes on suspension. So they basically have Cooks, they have Kiki, who is 3,500, and then they have this rookie Isaiah Coulter, who hasn't really got on the field this year. He's minimum at 3K. He's going to be the third receiver. I actually think he kind of has some juice, so we'll wait and see on him this week. But I think any of the Texans guys are in play for cash because, Kiki and Cooks are both really good plays at their price tags.
That's a great point. I mean, I've
So
mentioned
there's
in
some
the
more
weeks
value
prior,
for you. If you play Kiki, I'm sure that'll be a thing. Like Cooks is going to be chalky, but I'm sure people will want to play Kiki because he's 3,500.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for that. Some other guys just very quickly. I think some of those Chicago wide receivers like Miller might pop. I've been playing a lot of Denzel Mims. I even picked him up on my
Yeah,
shitty
Mims is a
season-long
good play,
Yahoo
man.
team.
Mims is a good play.
4,100. I mean,
He's got
open
10
can't stop
DK
anyone.
points in each of his last three. So Crowder being back didn't affect him, that negatively. And I don't know, Vegas can't really cover anyone. Mims is like super athletic. So I actually think that's a pretty good play at 4,100 for sure.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. And then Rashard Perry, man, I mean, he's 3,900 in that same game. Again, it's 6 one way, half dozen another. You're gonna probably get one of those guys right. Kind of tough to tell which one, but I like both of them to be honest. I think it'd be interesting to see who gets that matchup in the slot, which would probably be Perryman, I would guess. Anyone else, Ben, in this 3K range?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think it's the Texans guys. I mean, you could go back to if you think that Minnesota game shoots out last week, everyone wanted to play, the cheap Jaguars guys. Like Keelan Cole 3,800. That could be a thing again. It's not like Minnesota's defense is that imposing. Like
Yeah,
Laviska's 3,600. Didn't do a ton. 4 targets, 3 catches, but could potentially look at the Jags guys maybe later in the week.
all right, let's go to tight end.
Yeah, I'm
What's
not
your first
playing
thoughts
Darren
on tight
Waller.
end?
I can tell you that. I don't even care. Before I even
So,
pull up tight end, I'm not playing him. I can tell you that.
he's going to go off this week for
Oh, of course
25.
he will. Because I don't play him. If
Make
I play
sure
him, he won't do anything. But yeah.
make sure to play him in a tournament roster, everybody. This is the week. This is
Yes,
the
I'm
week.
not playing him, so you definitely want to play him. But no, in all seriousness, Goddard had a pretty big game last night. He's 4,300 against Green Bay. I think he will get some ownership. And then on the opposite side of that game, Tunyon is 3,700. Scored again last week. I think that's 2 straight games with a touchdown.
Hmm.
Eagles give up a ton of points to tight ends. He's only 3,700. So I think both of those guys are really good play. You have Hooper, who scored. Really, all he did was score that touchdown. He didn't do much else, but he's still 3,800 in a game that we think can shoot out. And then Rudolph, if Irv Smith is out, you can play Kyle Rudolph. If Irv Smith's in, you don't want to play Rudolph. But any game Irv Smith's missed this year, Kyle Rudolph has done really well. And he's only 3,400, and it's Jacksonville. So there's actually a lot of cheap tight ends that I like this week.
This is one of those weeks I feel like yet again where so many of these tight ends just throw a dart. You'll probably get it right. I mean, honestly, they're all going to score roughly the same amount. I would not touch Hawkinson Raleigh at all at that price point. I mean, that whole team is just a dumpster fire. Waller, GPP only. Like you said, Goddard's probably, I guess, where I would maybe start with. Ironically enough, here we go again. Somebody you didn't bring up. Johnny Smith will probably break the
Yes,
slate with
dude,
3
all the
touchdowns.
Titans. Give me all the
I mean,
Titans, and then just give me like Jarvis Landry. Like, just give me
for,
this. This
for
is the nuts game. I can't believe I'm so in on a Browns game, but I am in on this game.
yeah, I mean, Austin Hooper, like you said, he should be more involved in this game. The Browns will be behind, I think, by a couple of scores. I think they get punched in the mouth this game. Hopefully they're fighting at least in the fourth quarter, but you would assume Hooper needs to be involved. I know you brought up Landry earlier, so that's another good point. But Last guy, I don't know if you mentioned him, but with the whole shakeup in Houston, is Aikens kind of always gets 4 or 5 targets, I guess,
Oh,
right?
I'm
I
not
mean,
playing him either.
there,
He dropped 2 touchdowns on
yeah,
Thanksgiving and cost me a bunch of money. He's on my list. I don't have a list, but I'm making a list for him. Him and Waller, first 2 on my official list.
Anthony Firsker. You know he's scoring this week at
Yes.
2,500.
Yeah, any Titans player I don't roster will score for sure.
All right, let's finish with defense. I'll start. I lead with defense.
Okay.
So, as always, I personally will probably pay down. I'm looking right now, as much as I've kind of talked a little bit about this game. I mean, man, we need to do a hard look at what went wrong with Vegas. This game is East again. I mean, man, why not just go back to the freaking Jets, let them get you 8, 9 points, and call it a day? That's just my thoughts at 2,100. Where are you looking at?
Yeah, I played the Jets last week, both sides. I think you can play them again. That's probably my first look. I like them. I like Falcons at home too, 2,400. Taysom Hill stinks, man. I'm sorry, he does. So I think you can use the Falcons defense.
Perfect. Well, that does it, everybody. Like I said, big week for us. Had a lot of influx and new subs the last week with the cyber codes. I think it might still be good. If not, we have the free rolls that I'm sponsoring for both Super Draft and DraftKings this week. We got a long way to go. I think the final quarter of the season is important because you just want to end the season on a good taste in your mouth, right? I mean, we've had a pretty good season again with everybody at Karma. We're really looking forward to NBA. The early access to that stuff is on the site as well. Lineup optimizer, core plays, NBA projections. We're really excited about the prop plays, cheat sheets, and of course, all of the articles and the live stream. So that does it. Good luck this week, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.